What started as wooden frigates hunting merchant ships became floating missile arsenals controlling the seas. Today, we track the complete evolution of the cruiser across every era from sail to stealth. This is the story of naval cruisers. Starting off with the origins era, 1850s to 1890s. HMS Shannon, 1855. This British wooden-hulled steam frigate represented the transition from pure sail to steam power. Armed with traditional broadside guns, it could hunt commerce raiders independently, establishing the cruiser's fundamental role as a long-range patrol ship. USS Wampanoag, 1864. An experimental American commerce raider that could hit nearly 18 knots, making it one of the fastest warships afloat. It was basically a speedboat with cannons, designed to outrun anything it couldn't outfight. Up next, HMS Inconstant, 1868. Britain's first iron-hulled cruiser, combining steam power with iron construction. The shift from wood to iron revolutionized naval warfare, creating ships that could survive punishment no wooden hull could endure. Now, this is the HMS Iris and HMS Mercury, 1879, the world's first all-steel cruisers. By using steel instead of iron, the Royal Navy created warships that were lighter, stronger, and faster than anything before them. These ships proved that steel was the future of naval construction, setting the standard every navy would follow. The age of wooden warships was officially over. The next one, protected cruisers of the 1880s. These ships featured armored decks protecting their engines and magazines, but left their sides unarmored. Fast and cheap to build, they became the merchant hunters of choice for every major navy. Continuing, armored cruisers of the late 1880s. Navies added side armor belts to protect against increasingly powerful guns. Heavier and slower than protected cruisers, they could stand and fight rather than just run. Then HMS Orlando class, 1886. A representative first-class protected cruiser with 9.2-inch guns and global range. These ships patrolled Britain's vast empire, showing the flag from Hong Kong to Halifax. Let's move on to the pre-dreadnought era, 1890s to 1906. USS Columbia and USS Minneapolis, 1894. American commerce raiders designed to hit 21 knots and destroy enemy merchant shipping. Their speed and range made them terrifying threats to any nation dependent on overseas trade. Next up, HMS Powerful class, 1895. These were the largest cruisers afloat at 14,000 tons, essentially battleship-sized vessels with cruiser speed. They mounted massive 9.2-inch guns and could obliterate anything smaller while outrunning anything bigger. The armored cruiser boom, 1895 to 1905. Every major navy began building increasingly large armored cruisers that rivaled battleships in size and cost. These ships blurred the line between cruiser and capital ship, creating confusion about naval roles that would take decades to resolve. Following this, HMS Cressy class, 1901. British armored cruisers weighing 12,000 tons with 9.2-inch guns and 6-inch side armor. They were designed to hunt enemy cruisers and support the battle fleet, though their armor proved inadequate against modern weapons. Now, this is the IJN Sama class, 1899, Japanese armored cruisers that became legends during the Russo-Japanese War. Armed with 4 8-inch guns and protected by Harvey armor, these ships hunted down Russian cruisers at the Battle of Tsushima in 1905. Their combat performance proved that Asian navies could match European technology. The Asama showed the world that Japan had arrived as a modern naval power, setting the stage for decades of Pacific rivalry. Up next, USS Tennessee class, ACR 10, 1906. American armored cruisers with 4 10-inch guns and twin turrets. These ships represented the peak of American pre-dreadnought cruiser design before the revolution that was about to transform naval warfare. Then Italian Giuseppe Garibaldi class, 1901. A highly successful export design sold to Argentina, Japan, and Spain. Fast, well-armed, and affordable, these cruisers proved that smaller naval powers could field modern warships without breaking their budgets. Up next, World War I and the interwar period. Now, this is the HMS Invincible class, 1907, the world's first battlecruisers and Admiral Jackie Fisher's revolutionary brainchild. These ships combined battleship firepower with cruiser speed by sacrificing armor protection. Armed with 8 12-inch guns and capable of 25 knots, they could devastate any cruiser afloat while running from battleships. The concept was brilliant but flawed. Thin armor made them vulnerable when forced into slugfests with heavily armored opponents, a weakness that would prove fatal at Jutland. The next one, SMS von der Tann, 1909. Germany's answer to the Invincible featured better armor distribution and underwater protection. German designers learned from British mistakes, creating a more balanced battlecruiser that could actually take punishment. Next up, HMS Town Class, 1910 to 1913. Light cruisers designed for fleet scouting with 6-inch guns and 25-knot speed. These workhorses screened the Grand Fleet and hunted enemy scouts throughout World War I. Following this, HMS Lion Class, 1912. Super battlecruisers mounting 8 13.5-inch guns. These were floating glass cannons. Massive firepower, impressive speed, tissue paper armor. Then the Battle of Jutland, 1916. British battlecruisers HMS Indefatigable, HMS Queen Mary, and HMS Invincible all exploded catastrophically when German shells penetrated their thin armor and detonated magazines. Admiral Beatty's famous remark, "There seems to be something wrong with our bloody ships today," captured the fatal flaw of trading armor for speed. Continuing, light cruisers of World War I. These were the workhorses of the war, leading destroyer flotillas, screening capital ships, and hunting submarines. Fast, nimble, and expendable, they did the fleet's dirty work. Up next, USS Omaha Class, 1923. American scout cruisers with 10 6-inch guns and awkward casemate mounts. They were outdated the moment they launched, but served throughout World War II anyway. The Washington Naval Treaty, 1922. This treaty limited cruisers to 10,000 tons and defined heavy cruisers as ships with guns larger than 6.1 inches, creating the 8-inch gun heavy cruiser category. Every navy immediately designed ships right up to the limit. Next, HMS Kent-class county cruisers, 1928. British treaty heavies with 8 8-inch guns. Lightly armored to stay within treaty limits, they relied on speed and firepower rather than protection. The next one, USS Pensacola Class, 1930. American treaty cruisers crammed 10 8-inch guns onto a thin-skinned hull. They were powerful but fragile, sacrificing everything for maximum firepower within treaty restrictions. Now, this is the IJN Myoko Class, 1929, Japanese heavy cruisers that pushed treaty limits to the breaking point. Armed with 10 8-inch guns and 5 twin turrets, 8 torpedo tubes, and powerful engines producing 33 knots, these ships were the most heavily armed cruisers afloat. Japan's designers masterfully maximized firepower within the 10,000-ton limit, though they secretly exceeded it. The Myoko class showed that Japan intended to dominate Pacific waters through superior ship design. Following this, HMS Southampton Class, 1937. British light cruisers with 12 6-inch guns and 4 triple turrets. The triple turret arrangement packed devastating firepower into a compact design, creating highly effective fleet cruisers. Then IJN Mogami Class, 1935. Japan built these as light cruisers with 15 6-inch guns, but they were designed for easy conversion to 8-inch heavy cruisers, which happened in 1939. This treaty-dodging design let Japan secretly exceed cruiser limits while technically staying compliant. Up next, German Admiral Hipper Class, 1939. Heavy cruisers designed as commerce raiders with 8 8-inch guns and high speed. These ships hunted Allied convoys in the Atlantic, though fuel limitations restricted their effectiveness. Continue watching to see the legendary World War II cruisers and the modern missile ships. Now let's look at World War II. HMS Dido Class, 1940. The first purpose-built anti-aircraft cruisers featuring 10 5.25-inch dual-purpose guns. With their power dominating naval warfare, these ships protected the fleet from the deadliest threat of the modern age. The next one, USS Brooklyn Class, 1937 to 1938. Mounting 15 6-inch guns and 5 triple turrets, these light cruisers were powerful workhorses. They fought across the Pacific and Mediterranean, providing devastating fire support for amphibious landings. Next up, USS Atlanta class, 1941. Purpose-built anti-aircraft cruisers armed with 16 5-inch dual-purpose guns and 8 twin mounts. These ships were floating flak batteries designed to shred incoming bombers. Fast and deadly against aircraft, they struggled in surface combat, but filled a critical role protecting carriers. Now, this is the USS Cleveland class, 1942, the most numerous cruiser class ever built with 27 ships completed. Armed with 12 6-inch guns and dual-purpose secondary batteries, these light cruisers became the workhorse of the Pacific War. American factories mass-produced Clevelands using modular construction techniques, flooding the Pacific with modern cruisers faster than Japan could sink them. Reliable, well-armed, and available in overwhelming numbers, the Cleveland class represented American industrial might transformed into naval dominance. 9 more were completed as light carriers, showing the design's versatility. Following this, USS Baltimore class, 1943. Heavy cruisers with 9 8-inch guns and 3 triple turrets. Better armored than earlier American heavies, these reliable workhorses served with distinction across the Pacific. Then HMS Belfast, 1939. A town-class light cruiser that survived the war and now serves as a museum ship on the Thames. Her preservation lets visitors experience what life aboard a World War II cruiser was actually like. Up next, IG Antone class, 1938. Aviation cruisers with all 8 8-inch guns mounted forward and a massive seaplane deck aft. These heavy scouts launched float planes for long-range reconnaissance, serving as the eyes of the carrier fleet. The next one, USS Alaska class, 1944. Large cruisers designated CB, not CA, these super cruisers mounted 9 12-inch guns. Too slow to be battle cruisers and too expensive to be cruisers, they arrived too late to fight the surface threats they were designed to counter. Following this, Admiral Hipper in action. This German heavy cruiser operated as a surface raider in the Atlantic, attacking convoys and tying down British forces. Fuel limitations and mechanical problems limited its effectiveness, but it remained a persistent threat. Then HMS Edinburgh sinking, 1942. This town-class cruiser was torpedoed while escorting an Arctic convoy carrying 1.5 million pounds in Soviet gold. The ship fought off German destroyers before sinking, becoming one of the most valuable shipwrecks in history. Up next, Battle of Leyte Gulf, 1944. American cruisers and destroyers of Taffy 3 charged Japanese battleships and heavy cruisers to protect vulnerable escort carriers. Their suicidal heroism stopped a vastly superior force, turning certain disaster into unlikely victory. And our last category is the Cold War to modern era. USS Worcester class, 1948. The last all-gun cruisers built by any navy, mounting 12 6-inch guns and automatic twin turrets firing 12 rounds per minute. They were magnificent but obsolete, rendered irrelevant by guided missiles before they even entered service. Now, this is USS Long Beach, CGN 9, 1961, the world's first nuclear-powered cruiser and the first warship built from the keel up with an all-missile armament. Powered by 2 nuclear reactors and armed with Talos, Terrier, and ASROC missiles, Long Beach represented the future of naval warfare. No guns, no smokestacks, just missiles and radar. The sleek, futuristic design looked like something from science fiction. Long Beach proved that the missile age had arrived and the gun cruiser era was over. The next one, USS Galveston-class conversions, 1958. World War II Cleveland-class cruisers gutted and rebuilt with Talos long-range surface-to-air missiles. These conversions extended the life of old hulls while giving the Navy modern air defense capability on a budget. Following this, Soviet Sverdlov-class, 1952. Stalin's Cold War gun cruisers mounting 12 6-inch guns and 4 triple turrets. Massively built and heavily armored, these ships represented Soviet conservatism in design, clinging to gun armament even as missiles dominated. Then Soviet Kresta and Kara classes, 1967 to 1977. Soviet missile cruisers designed specifically to hunt American carrier groups. Armed with massive anti-ship missiles and surface-to-air defenses, They embodied Soviet naval doctrine, swarm the carriers with missile salvos. Now, this is the USS Ticonderoga class, 1983, the cruiser that changed everything. Armed with the revolutionary Aegis combat system and SPY, one phased array radar, Ticonderoga-class cruisers can simultaneously track and engage hundreds of targets. Vertical launch systems holding 122 missiles provide devastating firepower against aircraft, missiles, ships, and submarines. 27 were built, forming the backbone of American carrier strike groups. The Aegis system proved so effective that it's been exported worldwide and remains the gold standard for naval air defense 4 decades later. Up next, Soviet Kirov class, 1980. Nuclear-powered battlecruisers displacing 28,000 tons and armed with 20 massive Granite anti-ship missiles. These monsters were designed to overwhelm American carrier defenses through sheer volume of fire. Then Type 055 Renhai class, China, 2020. Modern Chinese guided missile cruisers with 112 vertical launch cells carrying a mix of anti-ship, anti-air, anti-submarine, and land attack missiles. Advanced phased array radars and integrated sensors make these among the most capable surface combatants afloat. The cruiser continues evolving. Future designs focus on hypersonic missiles, laser weapons, and commanding drone swarms, ensuring that cruisers remain the fleet's versatile, high-tech guardians for decades to come.